Far, far away, in a different time. I'm not saying whether it's earlier than now or later than now. It's just a different time to now. It's not now. And it's not here. Unless, of course, you're listening to this there, which is unlikely because this isn't available there. And even if you took it with you, you couldn't get there because no one will take you there. No planes, no trains, not even minicab drivers will take you there because it's too weird. And it's inhabited by creatures known as the Flanimals. There are a few things you should know about Flanimals, and when you do, I'd keep them to yourself if I were you. How much do you know about Flanimals? How many Flanimals do you know? All of them? I don't think so. You're probably aware of the Humpdumbler. Humpdumbler, Latin name, Umloid valvewinkler. This squiddy mongedingler scrundles along, snuffling in one direction and ogling in the other. Sounds weird, doesn't it? It isn't. But that's just one type of Humpdumbler. There's the puggled Humpdumbler, the squeebless Humpdumbler, and the flap-toggled Humpdumbler, to name but 3. There are 30. The sprot guzzler is quite common and, as you know, loves to eat sprots. But what about the sprot tumbler, who just likes to roll them along the ground a bit? Or the sprot ogler, who likes to watch them? And of course the rarer sprot mungler, who cunningly looks and acts like the sprot ogler so that the sprot believes it's just being watched until at the last minute it is mungled senseless. Hemelsprot, Latin name, Podis reversus. The Hemelsprot rushes around the Guddle deserts on its wobble pod, only looking where it's been, never where it's going. It eventually dies by bumping into the sprot guzzler. Sprot guzzler, Latin name, Guzzlank plod. The sprot guzzler is gruntloid in build but actually related to the anchor. It eats Hemelsprots but is terrified of adult mernimblers. The adult mernimbler eats everything it sees and dies of chronic indigestion. Baby mernimblers live on honey water and the softer bits of cloud. They stay that way for some time and then turn into adults when someone says, "Oh, look at those cute mernimblers. I think I'll stroke one." The Flemping Bunthimmler looks a bit like a baby mernimbler. It feeds on baby mernimblers and replaces them in the nest. He is exposed when they all turn into adults and eat him. The world record for the quickest a Flemping Bunthimmler has been ripped to bits by mernimblers is 12 seconds. As he climbed into the nest, it foolishly commented on how cute the mernimblers were. The adult and baby mernimbler weigh the same. This makes the baby mernimbler the densest flanimal on the planet. Anyway, there are over 20 types of underblenge, 50 types of coddleflop, and nearly 100 types of splunge. I don't think you need 100 types of splunge. You can get rid of them. Pointless. In fact, it annoys me a bit. What about you? The splunge, by the way, is quite literally a bag of nerves. So utterly terrified of everything, it splunges at birth. And that causes both parents to do the same. They just explode from the inside out. So, being born causes splunging in both baby and mother. Some splunges have foolishly tried to avoid this by never becoming pregnant. This never works because they have already exploded when they were born. The world record for simultaneous mass splunge is 37. 12 mother splunges gave birth at the same time with the fathers present. That's 24 adults and 13 babies. There was one set of twins. An underblenge, by the way, is a snurbulant splench sucker that captures prey by sticking to their face and suffocating them. Its suckers are impossible to prise off. Unfortunately, it can't catch anything as it can't move from the rock it was born on. That's why it looks annoyed all the time. Its Latin name, incidentally, is Echinoplungederma. Coddleflops, or ovarian flip hangers, slurtle around absorbing stains and puddles. Their only defence is to flip over to protect their soft top. Unfortunately, its bottom is equally soft and is instantly squashed if trodden on. It's actually trodden on quite a lot, usually by the grundit. This is one of the grundit's favourite pastimes. Sounds cruel, doesn't it? The thing is, it's nothing personal, it just likes the sound they make as they squelch then pop. Grundit. Latin name, Grundoidian yobjammer. The grundit staggers around half-witted and grumpy, trying to start trouble. Its favourite hobby is using the Puddloflaj as a form of transport, but it always falls off, causing the bumps on its head. Luckily, the brain is too small to be affected. The Puddloflaj is a cowardly wobbler that spends its days avoiding the grundit. The Puddloflaj hates being ridden by the grundit. That's why the grundit does it. If the grundit jumping on the Puddloflaj is too big for it, the pressure can pop the Puddloflaj's eyes out. The furthest a pair has popped out is 19 feet. The Puddloflaj couldn't pick them up, as it couldn't see them. There are so many types of Flanimal that we don't know exactly how many there are. There are more types of Flanimal that we don't know about than ones that we do. How do we know that? We don't. Stupid, isn't it? No, it isn't. Why not? I don't know. Do you? Not so clever now, are you? But you will be when you've listened to this. You'll know everything. That'd be good, wouldn't it? No, it won't, because then there'll be nothing to learn, and learning's great, so that'd be sad. So I'd stop listening now. I thought I told you to stop listening. You've got a lot to learn. Right, you better carry on listening. Where did all the Flanimals come from? Some people think they were made by a strange old man who lives in the sky, but not the clever scientists. They believe no one made them, they just evolved. That means that over millions and millions of years, globs of gumption and living schnurb gradually grew and changed into slungent flubes and slunge greeblers, which multiplied and became the very Flanimals surviving today. The very earliest form of Flanimal life was Splawn. Really nothing more than a liquidoid membrane, but it possessed the ability to reproduce itself. It could simply divide into two. It could do this because it had the building block of Flanimal life, a giant molecule called Deloptiribelloidolonuflapid. Deloptiribelloido Nuflapid hapliasi Deloptiribelloido Nuflapid hapliasi Deloptiribelloido Nuflapid hapliasi or DNA for short. Or DN for even shorter. D is about as short as you can go. Well, in any human language. Anyway, there is a sound that one Flanimal makes that is 50 times shorter than D. I'd say it, but there's no point. You wouldn't be able to hear it. It's so short. If I said it out loud to you, right near your ear, you wouldn't hear it. You need really small ears to hear such a tiny sound. Even if you wrote it with a big fat pen, it would still fit on the end of a pin. That's how small it is. Anyway, Splawn, millions of years ago, multiplied and changed in many different ways. It doesn't do that anymore. I'm not sure why. I heard it was guilt. Let me tell you about some of the Flanimals. Squunt. Latin name, squinty clam gullet. The squunt is born with eyes inside its gaping nosh trap. This cloppered valve sclap slams its mouth shut to stop other Flanimals poking its eyes out for a laugh. However, it is terrified of the dark and opens up screaming, drawing Flanimals from all around who poke his eyes out for a laugh. Plapavom. Bilious flob. This bilgulent flap of glunt has no mouthparts and so is unable to eat. It survives by gradually dissolving itself to provide energy for its bodily functions. Its only bodily function is looking around, seeing what an utterly pointless and depressing existence it has. This means it lives quite a long time, making its life even worse. It gets smaller as it grows until it's just eyes. Eventually these dissolve too, and it is put out of its misery. Fuddumpton, Puddloflaj. This remungular quackstumpling looks like the most rasbungled wobbliger ever. It's actually quite cerebentral and espericulous in its ferroping, which proves you should never go on appearances. Gramumulant, or crumgullet. This splunked up spooge sock is the larval stage of the muntfly. It has no mouth, ears, nose, legs or internal organs, but just looks forward to things changing when it sheds its skin and metamorphoses into an adult. Unfortunately, the only change that takes place when it reaches adulthood is that its eyes fall off. It does shed its skin, but there's no new skin underneath, so its insides just leak into the ground. Have you ever heard a stain weep? Harazi, or Rhazus. This scrabulatory scruntling is the fastest flanimal on the planet. When running over short distances, it is able to reach a top speed of 50 miles an hour. This is incredible considering it is also one of the smallest flanimals that exist. It has been discovered that it is able to reach such speeds because it possesses something that no other creature has. Legs that go absolutely mental. Edgar, or Carpus oggrabler. This drudginous creepling is the slowest moving flanimal on the planet. Its top speed has been clocked at nearly 1 mile a day. When moving at its slowest speed, it can actually move slower than some flanimals that don't move at all. Dweezil muzzbug, or Throxy zubstumpling. This scrummy beetle runs around wishing it could fly. Angry, tired and fed up with using its legs to get around, it sheds them so it can rest. Unfortunately, legs falling off is one of the most painful things ever, and it screams itself to death in agony. Hardly a rest, is it? So be careful what you wish for. Verminal squirm, or flungal grindler. The verminal squirm spends its days poking its head around or over things. Because of this, we don't know what its body is like. We can only assume from its name that it is similar in shape to the hordery squirm, but with superficial verminal characteristics. The hordery squirm, or smarmal grindler, is very similar to the verminal squirm. By the way, the P is not silent, it's pronounced squirm. The squat, Cycus crabantula. This arachnid scrab-rapnor is the angriest, maddest ripper flan in the universe. Whenever it meets another flanimal, it is so filled with rage that it goes berserk with the gnashing and smashing, spiking and biting. It destroys it in seconds. This makes it even angrier because it can't carry on destroying it. So the next flanimal it meets, it destroys it even quicker with more gore, clawing, dread, shredding head. It's so mental. It's so mental. Mungungler, or Gruntloidian mamlanger. This brontial mam drudger is like a big sluggish liquid lunch. Flanimals from all around come and suckle on its rear milky puddings, and there is nothing it can do about it. Inside it is screaming, roll on death. The pong flibber, Latin name Flatulus pumpton. This pungent boggle-eyed guff bubble is quite useless. Its only defence is to pump out its entire gaseous insides at high speed to escape. The flanimal it is trying to escape from simply follows the smell to find the creature deponged and flibbered. The wheezy tongue nambler, Latin name Fledge sputer. This flembulous frog gosling is so utterly repulsive in a pathetic runtling way that it causes all other flanimals to instantly want to squash it for fun. Its defence is to flap and lick. This is even more annoying, and it therefore gets squashed for fun anyway. Prugfuggle, or bog squabbler. This drudulent tetrapod is nothing more than a simple nad snail, and we all know what that means, don't we? Gronglet, Latin name Conchschnabler. This tiny amphibioloid snurbles along in ming puddles, snorkeling up microflukes. Creatures so small that they can't be seen. It needs something bigger than this to live, so it starves to death within the first day of its life. Spleg, or conkboaker, is related to the gronklet but with greater snorkeling capabilities. This means it doesn't die until the day after it was born. Swogmonglet, Latin name muggisling. This hugly squibbling is a primitive pond slubber that pulled itself out of the primordial slough millions of years ago. Once on land, it was too fat and useless to pull itself back in. Look at it. It is absolutely kippered. The life of any flanimal is a constant struggle for survival. They have to live long enough to bring babies into the world to continue their species. With the threat from other flanimals, they have to sometimes fight to stay alive. Some love to fight, some are great fighters, but who's the greatest? At 5 is the Blunging, at 4 is the Grundit, at 3 is the Sprott Guzzler. We know the top 2 places are occupied by the squat and the adult Mernimbler, but because they've never met in battle, we're not sure who would win. Who would you put your money on? So now you know about Flanimals. Some are weird, some are not so weird, but the weird thing is that the less weird ones are weirder than the weirder ones. Weird. But the weirdest thing of all happened exactly many years ago. One day, 2 at the most, a baby Blunging asked his father a question. "Father," he said. Obviously he didn't speak English. I'm translating so you can understand it. I couldn't even write down what he actually said, but the noise he made was like a mongoose with a cold. As the Blunging grows up, it starts talking like a normal goose with a cold and laryngitis. Anyway, "Father," he said, "what is beyond the black mountain at the end of the dark forest on the other side of the Sea of Night?" "The what?" said the father. "The black mountain at the end of the dark forest on the other side of the Sea of Night." The father looked confused. "Huh?" "You know the Sea of Night?" He pointed. "Over there." "Oh, yeah," said the father. "Well, you know there's a big forest across there?" "Yeah," said the father. "Well, if you walk through that, there's a big black mountain." "A black mountain?" The baby pointed again. "That one." "Oh, yeah, that one, sure. What was your question?" "What's on the other side of it?" "Other side of what?" "The black mountain," the baby said loudly in an annoyed way. "Oh, nothing," said the father. "Nothing?" The father shook his head. "You're not just saying that to stop me going, are you?" "No, there's nothing there," the father insisted. "It's just that it sounds like the sort of thing a parent would say to stop a kid going." "No, nothing there. Very boring." "See, it's things like that. Why add very boring? I didn't ask if it was a laugh there. I just asked what's there. It sounds like you're trying to put me off." "No, there is nothing there." The baby thought for a moment. "Are there creatures so ferocious that I would be ripped limb from limb if I dared to venture there, and you just don't want to see me killed?" "I don't want you to be bored." "Right, I'm going." "It'd take you a long time." "Don't care. I can't wait to see what's there now." "There's nothing there." "We'll see." "Nothing to see." "I'm off. Bye." So off he stritch-hopped. He passed an underblend sitting on a rock. "All right, where are you off to?" it asked. "I'm off to see what's beyond the black mountain at the edge of the dark forest across the Sea of Night." "Oh, yeah. I'd come with you, but obviously I can't move from this rock." "Shame," said the baby Blunging. "Not really," said the underblenge. "If I could get off, the first thing I'd do is stick to your face and suffocate you to death." They both laughed for ages. "Anyway, must be off," said the baby Blunging. "Bye." "Bye," said the underblenge. So on he went, ever closer to his destination. As he approached the Sea of Night, it started to get darker, even though it was the middle of the day.
Weird, innit?
Said a lonely squant. You can talk, said the precocious young Blunging.
Of course I can. It's about the only thing I can do. I'm literally all mouth,
it said.
No, I mean, you're a fine one to say something's weird. You misunderstood me.
Oh, you misunderstood me, the squant said mockingly. I never said I was clever. There's not much room for brains when you haven't really got much of a head, you know. Anyway, where are you going?
By the way, I should point out that squunts don't speak English either. They communicate with a noise that sounds exactly like an old, sad monkey gargling.
I'm trying to find out what's behind the Black Mountain.
Can I come with you? 2 heads are better than 1.
Not in this case,
the baby Blunging replied.
Bye.
He crossed the Sea of Night and entered the dark forest, which was even darker than the Sea of Night. But then it was night by now, so that's understandable. I know what you're thinking. How did the baby Blunging get across the sea when he can't swim? Well, he got a lift from a frappled Humpdumbler, obviously. So he entered the forest. A forest full of creatures so hideous and terrifying to look at that they would cause anyone to die of fright instantly when they saw them. Luckily, as I said, it was dark, so he couldn't really make them out. He went through the forest, and there stood the Black Mountain.
How am I going to get over that? He thought.
You can always go around it, said a gum-numbly Nuck-Nuck.
What in the name of Grob are you?
Not sure. Not even sure I am anything, it said.
Well, you've got to be something. I mean, Hang on a minute. How did you know what I was thinking? I didn't say out loud about getting over the mountain, and yet you said you could always go around it. How is that possible?
Walk, replied the Nuck-Nuck.
No, not how is it possible to get around it. How is it possible for you to know what I was thinking?
You were thinking very loudly. The baby Blunging just looked at the creature.
What a weirdo, he thought.
Charming, said the offended Nuck-Nuck. Boy, you say what you think, don't you?
No, I don't. That's the point. I didn't say it. I just thought it.
Loudly, said the Nuck-Nuck.
I'm off,
said the Blunging.
Bye.
Finally, after 6 long days and 4 nights, the baby Blunging had crossed a sea, passed through a forest, and walked around a mountain. He had made it. As he stood at his destination at the other side of the Black Mountain, he could not believe what he saw, a sight so devastating he could not speak, he could not move, he could hardly breathe. What do you think he saw? What do you think was beyond the Black Mountain at the end of the dark forest on the other side of the Sea of Night? Guess. Can you guess? Yes, that's right. Nothing. Nothing at all. His dad was right. Didn't believe him. His dad was right. Waste of time. Waste of time.